There are moments in life when everything you've built feels fragile, when the ground beneath your feet seems to dissolve into uncertainty. Imagine standing at a crossroads, looking ahead, and feeling the weight of every choice pressing down on you. Millions of people have felt this. Few speak about it. Robert Downey Jr. and Steve Jobs faced this too. Moments where it seemed everything was gone. The only way forward was to start over. Robert Downey Jr. saw his career crumble almost overnight. Doors he counted on closed. Opportunities vanished. He faced a reality that could paralyze anyone. How do you rebuild when the world seems to have written your story as over? Steve Jobs was pushed out of the company he created. He watched others run the vision he had nurtured for years. He had poured himself into it, only to be told it wasn't his anymore. The fear of starting over could have kept him in the shadows. Yet somehow, he found the courage to step forward, to reimagine his life, to embrace reinvention. This is the truth about fear. It is universal. You don't have to be a superstar or a tech founder to feel it. You've stared at your own life and wondered if it could feel solid again. If you could recover from mistakes, losses, or endings that left you hollow. Fear whispers, starting over is too hard. The risk of failure is too great. You might never regain what was lost. But that fear carries a hidden message. It signals an opportunity to grow, to redefine yourself, to step into a new chapter, one that reflects not just who you were, but who you can become. Robert Downey Jr. didn't simply resume his career where he left off. He reinvented it. He used the experiences that could have broken him as fuel for transformation. Steve Jobs didn't settle into the comfort of loss. He used the setback as a springboard to innovate, to create again, to return stronger. What stands out in their stories is not glamour or drama. It's the process of facing fear itself, the doubts, the sleepless nights, the uncertainty of each next step. And yet, they moved forward anyway, not because they were fearless, but because they chose to act despite the fear. This episode is about that fear, the fear of starting over. It shows up in all of us. You may have faced the end of a relationship, the loss of a job, a failed business, or a personal setback. The sensation is the same. An invisible wall, a heaviness in the chest, a hesitation to take the first step. Quiet, insidious, isolating. You're not alone. The experiences of Downey and Jobs remind us that even those who seem invincible struggle. The difference is not the fear itself. It's how we respond. Do we let it define us? Or do we acknowledge it, sit with it, and take the steps forward anyway? In this journey, we'll explore that process, what it means to rebuild, to face collapse and do it with intention. Starting over isn't erasing the past. It's integrating it, owning your narrative, choosing consciously how to continue. You don't need clarity on every detail. You don't need to feel fully prepared. Downey and Jobs didn't. They began step by step, learning, adjusting, allowing themselves to fail in order to succeed. Their paths were neither linear nor easy, but they show us a truth. Fear is not a barrier. It is a guidepost. It highlights what matters most. So, take a moment. Sit with that feeling of fear, the fear of starting over, of facing uncertainty, of taking a leap without a guaranteed landing. Recognize it, name it, understand it. It's a natural response to what you care about. And then, let's explore the next step. Not the perfect step, not the fully confident step, but the real step, the step that moves you forward from where you are, using the lessons of those who faced fear and emerged stronger. By the end of this episode, you'll see how Downey and Jobs confronted fear, and you'll gain a clearer understanding of how to begin your own process of renewal, how to embrace uncertainty as a doorway, not a wall, and how to take the first steps of starting over with intention, resilience, and courage. Take a deep breath. Let the weight settle for a moment. This is your moment to begin. And like those who went before you, you have the capacity to rise, to learn, and to move forward, even when it feels impossible. Let's begin. There are moments when life does more than challenge you. It shakes the very foundations of who you are. You may think you can plan, control, navigate obstacles, and then one event, a string of missteps, or the relentless march of circumstance leaves you in a landscape that feels unfamiliar, unstable. For Robert Downey Jr., that moment came through public failure and personal struggles that threatened everything he had built. Steve Jobs faced it when he was removed from the company he created, forced to watch others steer the vision he had nurtured. In both cases, the collapse was total. The fear that comes with it is profound. When the scaffolding of life disappears, your mind reacts predictably. Anxiety creeps in, whispering doubts louder than reason. Shame or self-blame settles into your chest like an anchor. Each breath feels deliberate, heavy. You ask yourself, what if I fail again? What if I'm not good enough? What if this is permanent? Yet, in these moments of collapse, the raw truth of fear becomes visible. Fear isn't just danger. It's a mirror. It reflects what you value, what you've invested, what you've lost. For Downey, it wasn't only missed opportunities or public judgment. It was confronting a version of himself he no longer recognized. Jobs had to reconcile with a life he had shaped, suddenly held out of reach. In both cases, the collapse was personal, intimate, relentless. Collapse is not failure. It's a turning point, though it rarely feels like one in the moment. The emptiness, despair, disorientation you feel aren't anomalies. They're natural responses to loss, change, uncertainty. They're signposts pointing to the next step. The question is, how do you engage with fear? Do you let it define you, keep you frozen? Or do you acknowledge it, accept it, and move, however slowly? Think of the walls closing in, every plan feeling obsolete, the future unwritten. That sensation isn't weakness. It's clarity. Life you've known is ending. The life you are yet to build demands attention, courage, deliberate action. Downey didn't wake up with a perfect plan. He took small, deliberate steps, grounded in self-awareness, focused on what mattered. Jobs didn't simply return to Apple with a fully formed vision. He experimented, failed, learned, adapted. Neither path was linear or easy. But here's the truth. Fear is not a barrier. It is a guidepost. It highlights what matters most. Look at your own life. Maybe you've faced the end of a relationship, a career setback, a personal failure that feels insurmountable. You're not alone. The weight, the fear, the uncertainty, they're all part of being human. Recognizing this is the first step toward reclaiming agency. The challenge is to stay present in the moment of collapse. Resist the urge to escape, suppress the fear. By observing your sensations, thoughts, doubts, without judgment, you create space for clarity, reflection, action. Downey and Jobs didn't bypass fear. They moved through it. They learned. They let themselves be shaped by the experience, not defined by it. Collapse does not mark the end of your story. It is the threshold of a new chapter, one that requires courage, honesty, persistence. The fear you feel is not a wall, it's a doorway. Like those who walked this path before, you have the capacity to step through, not in a single leap, but in deliberate, imperfect steps. Recognize the fear, embrace the uncertainty, move forward, even when the landing is unclear. The darkest, seemingly insurmountable moments are not the end. They are the prelude to reinvention. And in this understanding, the first stirrings of courage begin. Subtle, persistent, pushing gently toward movement, toward possibility, toward a life reimagined. What sets those who rebuild themselves apart isn't the absence of failure. It's the ability to extract meaning from it. Robert Downey Jr., at his lowest, didn't see a single solution, but he began to notice small truths about himself. His passions, his talents, his dedication, they hadn't disappeared. They were still within him, waiting for a chance to be expressed in new ways. He recognized that recovery wasn't instantaneous. It was a series of small, deliberate actions, repeated day after day, each one reclaiming a fragment of the life he thought he had lost. Steve Jobs, similarly, found in his exile from Apple a moment to step back, to observe himself, and his craft without the weight of expectation. He experimented. He failed. He learned. In that space, he honed clarity, preparing to return stronger, more resilient, more innovative. The lesson is clear. Reinvention is built from micro-decisions. Small choices that may seem insignificant alone, but over time, shape the trajectory of your life. For anyone facing the fear of starting over, there's insight here. It begins with acceptance. Accepting where you are without judgment. Accepting the collapse, the loss, the failure. Not surrendering to it, but seeing reality clearly. Understanding constraints. Identifying opportunities hidden within them. Downey accepted his public failures, his addictions, the limitations of his situation. He worked within reality rather than fighting blindly. Jobs accepted his removal from Apple as a turning point, not an endpoint. He let it guide him toward a new path. Next comes reflection, the deliberate pause to understand lessons from hardship. Reflection isn't wallowing, it's inquiry. What choices contributed to the collapse? What patterns repeat? What strengths remain? What resources were overlooked? Both Downey and Jobs turned reflection into a tool. They examined their actions, decisions, and circumstances. Reflection clarified the way forward rather than immobilizing them. Then comes action. Small, intentional steps translating insight into momentum. For Downey, one role, one audition, one opportunity at a time, each building trust in his abilities. For Jobs, founding Next, investing in Pixar, projects that expanded skills, perspective, and set the stage for his return. Each decision a brick in the foundation of reinvention, chosen carefully without expecting perfection. Another lesson, resilience rooted in purpose. Reinvention isn't random. It's guided by what matters most, your curiosity, your passion. Downey's purpose was acting. Jobs' purpose was innovation, creating experiences that mattered. Grounding yourself in purpose gives direction, transforms anxiety into energy, frames the unknown as a space for meaningful experimentation rather than threat. Finally, patience. Transformation doesn't happen overnight. Neither did it for Downey or Jobs. Progress is iterative. Fail, learn, adjust, try again. Fear persists, but it becomes a companion, reminding you that you're moving through something significant. Both faced repeated setbacks, yet persistence created cumulative change. Endurance, not perfection, drives transformation. From this, practical insight emerges. Identify one small action aligned with your purpose, one step toward rebuilding. Reflect on lessons from setbacks, letting them guide choices rather than define limitations. Embrace reflection, action, resilience, and patience as tools interwoven, not sequential steps. Progress is a rhythm, not a single event. And remember, fear is natural, not a signal to stop, but a marker of what matters. When Downey faced auditions, public scrutiny, and past mistakes, fear was present. When Jobs explored ventures amid uncertainty, fear accompanied every decision. They didn't eliminate fear. They incorporated it into momentum. It reminded them of stakes, values, purpose, and so can you. By observing their journeys, the contours of your path become clearer. Reinvention isn't distant or unattainable. It's a daily practice of small, intentional choices, guided by self-awareness, grounded in purpose. Your fear is not a wall. It's the doorway through which your next chapter begins. And as Downey and Jobs show, stepping through that doorway doesn't require perfection. It requires courage, persistence, and trust in your capacity to rebuild. Fear of starting over can feel immobilizing, but in truth, it is a signal, a call to action, not a reason to remain frozen. Robert Downey Jr. didn't overcome his darkest days by waiting. He didn't wait for circumstances to improve or for confidence to appear fully formed. He started small, one deliberate action at a time, reclaiming control over the parts of his life he could influence, taking roles, rebuilding relationships, seeking accountability. Steve Jobs, too, used his exile to experiment. He allowed himself to make mistakes, to learn, to adapt, without the weight of past expectations. For anyone facing the fear of starting over, the lesson is clear. Movement matters more than perfection. Begin with micro-actions. Choices so small they feel almost insignificant. Yet over time, they carry profound potential. Send an email, make a phone call, update a resume, try a new project, or simply take 5 minutes to reflect and write down your thoughts. These are not dramatic leaps. They are the building blocks of momentum. Each one affirms that you're capable, that you're still in the driver's seat, and that fear, while present, does not dictate your next move. Reflection and awareness matter just as much. When Downey faced public scrutiny, he also confronted his internal dialogue, the shame, the doubt, the temptation to retreat. Jobs, removed from Apple, reflected on his leadership, his vision, and the mistakes that led to his exile. Observing your thoughts and emotions with honesty creates clarity. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding? What patterns repeat? What strengths remain untapped? Reflection turns fear from an abstract weight into actionable insight. It guides each step forward. Resilience grows when action aligns with purpose. Downey's purpose was his craft, the storytelling that defined him for decades. Jobs' purpose was innovation, creating experiences that mattered. When fear arises, grounding yourself in what matters channels energy constructively. Purpose becomes the compass. Fear becomes an indicator of stakes. Action becomes the engine driving reinvention. Without purpose, action risks being random. With purpose, even the smallest step carries meaning. Daily habits and rituals are crucial. Reinvention thrives in consistent, repeatable actions, not sporadic bursts of motivation. Downey maintained routines that supported recovery and growth, discipline, accountability, engagement with craft. Jobs, during his time away from Apple, cultivated practices sharpening creativity and strategic thinking. Identify habits that support your goals: journaling, exercise, planning, skill development, mindfulness. Integrate them steadily. Each repetition, though small, compounds into real transformation. Equally important is embracing discomfort as a teacher. Fear signals that you are moving towards something significant. Downey faced auditions with nerves and scrutiny. Jobs launched projects uncertain of their success. The discomfort did not vanish, but became a companion rather than an enemy. Accepting fear as part of the process allows you to act in its presence. Act while acknowledging fear rather than waiting for it to disappear. Support and connection amplify resilience. Neither Downey nor Jobs navigated these challenges entirely alone. Downey had mentors, friends, collaborators. Jobs found partners who shared his vision. Surround yourself with people who support your growth, challenge your assumptions, and offer perspective. Reinvention does not require isolation. It flourishes with aligned support. Above all, patience is essential. Transformation is rarely linear. Setbacks will occur. Doubt will persist. Progress may feel imperceptible. Downey's path to revitalizing his career was gradual. Jobs' journey back to Apple unfolded over years of learning and iteration. Each small, deliberate step, each decision, each reflection, each attempt accumulates into real progress. Fear is not an enemy. It is a companion signaling that you are on the path that matters. Integrate these steps into a rhythm rather than a rigid plan. Reflect, act, align with purpose, embrace discomfort, seek support, maintain patience. Momentum builds through repetition, awareness, and intentionality. Downey's reinvention did not happen overnight. Jobs' return to Apple emerged from patient refinement of ideas, failures, and lessons learned. Fear can be transformed into action, uncertainty into clarity, hesitation into progress. Even when it feels overwhelming, remember, each micro-action is proof that you are moving forward. Starting over is not about erasing the past or achieving immediate perfection. It's about reclaiming agency, rebuilding identity, stepping into a life shaped by intention rather than circumstance. Downey and Jobs did not escape fear. They walked through it step by step until what once felt impossible became reality. You can do the same, beginning with a single choice, a single action, a single moment of courage. That signals the start of your own reinvention. Reinvention is not a single act. It is a journey, an ongoing conversation with yourself, your fears, and your ambitions. Robert Downey Jr. and Steve Jobs remind us that starting over is not a moment of magic. It is a sequence of deliberate choices. Each one builds upon the last, shaping a new life from the fragments of the old. They did not erase their past. They integrated it. Experiences that could have broken them became the foundation for strength, clarity, and purpose. When you face the fear of starting over, remember, uncertainty is natural. Hesitation, doubt, questioning, these are not signs of weakness. They are markers of significance. They show that what lies ahead matters, that courage is required, and that even small steps carry value. Downey's journey was filled with setbacks, temptations to give up, and the weight of public judgment. Each challenge became a stepping stone. Jobs' path was no less turbulent. His exile, experimentation, and repeated failures paved the way for his most iconic achievements. The essence of reinvention lies in three things: action, reflection, and purpose. Take deliberate steps, however small. Notice the shifts they create. Reflect honestly. What works? What doesn't? What aligns with your values? Ground yourself in purpose. Let it guide decisions, measure progress, and give meaning to uncertainty. When fear arises, as it will, acknowledge it. Let it inform you, but don't let it stop you. Patience is essential. Transformation is iterative. It grows in rhythm, not leaps. Downey's career resurgence was measured in carefully chosen roles, rebuilt relationships, and re-established habits. Jobs' innovation emerged from cycles of creation, reflection, and adaptation. Progress is rarely linear, yet each step, each choice, each attempt compounds. Moving forward becomes inevitable. Connection amplifies the process. No one reinvents themselves alone. Downey relied on mentors, collaborators, and friends. Jobs engaged with visionary partners who refined his ideas and extended his reach. Surround yourself with people who see your potential, hold you accountable, and encourage growth. Reinvention flourishes through alignment, dialogue, and shared insight. Above all, trust your capacity to evolve. Scars, regrets, memories of failure, they do not define your future. They are elements of a story you are now empowered to write differently. Fear, doubt, and uncertainty are not walls. They're signposts. They indicate where growth is possible, where courage is needed, where opportunity awaits. Starting over is not desperation. It is choice. Each micro-action, each reflection, each deliberate step transforms fear into momentum. Embrace discomfort as a teacher, purpose as a guide, and patience as a companion. Reinvention is not a destination. It is a living, breathing process shaped by action, reflection, resilience, and courage. The path may seem uncertain, shadowed by doubt, but as Downey and Jobs show, willingness to begin again, imperfectly, fearfully, courageously, opens doors that would otherwise remain closed. The first step, no matter how small, is more powerful than hesitation. Each choice builds clarity. Each action builds confidence. Each moment of persistence brings you closer to the life you are capable of creating. In the end, reinvention is a declaration. Despite fear, despite failure, despite collapse, you can rise, rebuild, and reimagine yourself. Your story is not over. Your potential is not capped. The life you envision can be realized one deliberate step at a time. Take a breath. Feel the weight you carry. Acknowledge it. Let it become fuel for your next step. The door to reinvention is open. The path may be uncertain, but each action strengthens your footing. Each choice affirms your capacity, your courage, your resilience. You are not starting over from nothing. You are building forward from everything you have learned, everything you have endured, everything you are ready to become. And so you move, not because fear has vanished, not because the path is perfectly clear, but because you have chosen to step forward. The journey of reinvention has begun, and with each deliberate, courageous step, you are creating a life that reflects not the limitations of the past, but the possibilities of your own resilience, clarity, and purpose.